Now, if there was one element that I don't know, and I'm hoping you're going to just lace this with a silver lining, please tell me your dad was still alive when you signed for Rangers.
He was.
How great must that be?
Yeah, it was. He saw my career and he saw me having to dig in club to club, and the right few clubs. Better naming the ones I didn't play for. But he was so proud, and that was a big moment for me. Of course, it was when he was a Rangers fan. I was brought up a Rangers fan, and when I signed for them, my dad, you could just see he support. Don't get me wrong. When we played Rangers and I was playing for Aberdeen, he was Dundee United. He was wanting me to beat them. The rest of them, it wasn't one of those. Well, it's Rangers you're playing today, so I hope you get beat. He was like, no, I hope you win today, son. He was loyal. He was loyal, but when it came to when I signed for Rangers, proud.
Yeah. Did you take him for the signing?
No, for the signing, but he was at plenty of freebie games. A bit of hospitality.
Absolutely. Starter, main course and suite. Brilliant. Because they had injuries, you're suddenly working for Dick Advocaat, who was just priceless in a press.
Well, I said Paul Sturrock was savage. I could tell you a few about Dick. I like Dick's just thoroughness, honesty. He would call it. He wouldn't care if he hurt you. No, he wouldn't realise sometimes he would hurt you.
Yeah.
But he was a spade with Dick, and I loved that about him. But a hard man.
Yeah. But I can remember, I think I was at STV at the time. I can remember his interview was basically, he's my type of player. He grafts. Okay, we've got injuries, but for club and country, he's the type of player that we want here.
There's sometimes, Peter, where you can look back at the club you joined and you thought, maybe I could have done more. I couldn't have done more at Rangers. Myself and Andrei Kanchelskis, when we were out the team, extra. Andrei was incredible. You come with me, come on. Really hit it off with him. Brilliant for me because he's a winger, played great together, scored a lot of goals through Andrei. Yep. But Dick he just cut you sometimes, but he didn't realise what he was doing. But as I say, he liked to call it. And I mean, there was one I said about you look at back and you can maybe do a bit better than you thought at times. I couldn't have done any more at Rangers because when I went there for Dundee United playing the best football in my career, I kept it going at Rangers. We won the league and we won the cup, so that was a double. Yep. Starting next season, it was Dick had obviously his mindset in his first 11, and I'll tell you the story why. We used to train up steps. I don't know if you remember when Rangers before the training ground was built, and Dick was always. He was always wanting to push away on the team, but he had his thoughts in a starting 11, which is fine for any manager. You always do. Yeah. But there was no realisation that was coming for me because I'd done so well, and I thought I've just carried that on. I'm a starter. Comes the pre-seasons, I don't start. But I don't think anything of it. I think we're playing 4 pre-season games. I'll get 2. The other boys will get 2, and we'll share it. No, half an hour here, 10 minutes here. I'm like, wow. Comes the start of the season, we play Kaunas at Ibrox, and we're only winning 2-1, and there's only 15 minutes to go. Dafty comes on, scores 2, we win 4-1. Then we play St Johnstone, first game of the season. We're 1-0 down with 15 minutes to go. I score 2, we win 2-1. We go to Kilmarnock, we're 2-0 down. Andy McLaren, I can't remember who else scored. 2-0 down. I scored 2 each. Kenny Miller comes on, we win 4-2, we turn it around. I've got 6 goals in 3 games. In fact, I think, I can't remember their goals, but I think I got another couple. It was like 8 goals in 7 games. Comes to Sturm Graz, and I'm out. And we're up steps, training ground. And I'm raging. I've got, my head's gone, you can imagine. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, I don't know what I've got to do here.
Did you have the balls to go up and say to him?
He was called the Little General for a reason. No, but he saw me, and I never did anything. I was just fuming. And he came over to me and he's like, hey, Billy boy. And Neil McKenna used to do his accent. It'll be the worst ever, but I'll give it a go anyway. But he came over and he's like, hey, Billy boy, I know you're upset. He says, but you're the only one of my second 11 that showed me you want to get in my first 11. I'm like that.
That's a John Gagan line, isn't it? Why am I in the second team? Because you're too good for the third team.
Gigs. I did think about it when I went to watch gigs a couple of times. That's me. Wee Dick was like, that was his way. He's saying, you're showing me that you're doing well.
Yeah.
It's no good enough. But the 6 months I've had before that, when I joined Rangers, I couldn't have done any better.
Yeah.
I was playing, as I say, I had combined everything, the hard work, and I don't like...
And the fans liked you.
People, yeah, they were singing my name because Mikey Moles was injured and they were singing the same song with me. But it's not even about that. I was never a selfish person. It was just everything was going well. It couldn't have gone better.
Yeah.
And I was flying, and it just cut the legs from me right away, and then helped cut them a wee bit more when he up the steps training ground. When he told me that day, I was like, oh my word, Gaffer, you kidding me on? The second 11, is that what you think of us? And a few of the boys thought that. And we struggled that next season, Not because we weren't in the team.
Yeah.
Just because it affected the dressing room a wee bit.
Yeah, and was there a greater challenge coming from Celtic then?
Well, we went... I scored my Old Firm debut.
Yeah.
But we went for... That was in such an important game just before the winter break because it kept us 7 points in front.
Yep.
And we ended up winning it by 20
points, yeah, you were well ahead.
And then the next season, with everything that was happening, and he signed a few more players, good players, but a few Dutch players, which is fine.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't like it, but if they're good enough, they're good enough. But they never really set it alight.
Yeah.
And there was a wee bit of... There wasn't a bad feeling in the dressing room. It just wasn't right. You just know the balance wasn't right in the dressing room. And we ended up losing for 21 points the season before. We ended up losing the league by, I can't remember, maybe 15, 20 points the next season.
Yeah.
So there was a huge swing.
What was it like with your first Old Firm game? I mean, your dad would have been in there. He'd have had a ticket, surely.
Yeah, he did.
What was it like? I mean, you must have been buzzing. Could you stop as a professional footballer allowed, especially if you're a Rangers fan? If you're in that tunnel, are you nervous? Can you remember it?
You'll always have nerves, of course. You would never try and play that down. But I was ready because I was 31 and I had experienced a lot in football. I was now playing for the national team as well. And I made sure, don't let this game bypass you. You've heard players feel for if you just let the occasion get you, get there and it's over before you know it.
Yeah.
Deep breath, no nerves, playing well. Went out, couldn't hear the 7,000 Rangers fans. You know that corner they're in.
Yep.
No so much nowadays, but that was the corner they were in. Walked out and you couldn't even hear them. It was that loud. Yeah. But it was even.
Some people say they couldn't hear your teammates.
At times, yeah. At times, did you shout? You just can't. Peter, you'd have to play in it to experience it. But lucky I scored. I was ready, and do you know what? I actually really enjoyed the game with not a lot of nerves, just adrenaline and the pumped up before the game, but no during it.
Yeah. What's the best bit of advice you could give anyone who's going into a game like that?
Breathe. Take your time. Think about how you're going to play it out, but don't let it pass you by. Don't get caught up in all the emotions and the crowd, and you'll hear them, but try and block it as much as you can because it will help your game.
Yeah, and sweet if you win it.
Yeah, we drew it, but that was sweet enough because kept us 7 points in front. And that game was so pivotal because I felt as if we're going to win the league now. It would have been interesting if they cut the gap on us. Yeah.
Maybe another thing about it, when you look at these games, and then Rangers obviously are going to play in Europe. Europe is the bit where you can do it at international level because you get your 26 caps. But at that time, I felt as if the Champions League and European football, the standard was getting better and better.
It's where you wanted to be. Everything you'd worked hard for a young boy doing my mum and dad's house still is just above the playing parks in New Cumnock. They used to shout on you for your dinner and then you were back down. Don't get your school clothes dirty. You come up and you were absolutely caked with muck and you'd get a cuff in the ear for your old dear. That's everything you'd worked for there to go to Champions League was brilliant, and that was the thing when wee Dick said that to me about the
second 11,
the second 11 to the first 11. I comes on against Sturm Graz and one of my best goals for Rangers, chip to goalie.
That was a brilliant chip.
And he left me out again. I was like, you can imagine how demoralised you are. And Andrei kept me going at that time.
Yeah. If there was the high of signing for them, was it really painful leaving?
No, I was ready to leave. I was ready to leave because I was so far out the picture. Alec McLeish, who put me back in squads, to be fair to him, when he first came in. But I was getting older. Looking back now, the legs were starting to not go, but I needed to play regular to keep that tip-top form. So back to United. And it was good there. I had problems with my Achilles at that time. It kept niggling as well, so it never went as well. But scored some important goals. 2-0 down in the derby and scored a couple. Had some great moments and then went on to be Gordon Chisholm's number 2, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.